Hey gang, Kawaii50 here with another fake Grand Order video, back again with Facecam because it is the absolute best way for me to get information to you as fast as possible while still doing interesting video things in the background. Look at me go! Woo! So expect this to continue. We're going to talk about 9th anniversary in FGO. A lot of the good and a lot of the bad. It was kind of a mixed bag. I hear some people really excited about the improvements. I hear some people talking about how this is probably the worst anniversary FGO has ever received. So reactions amongst the community are mixed, to say the least. I'm gonna be taking a ganderino at some of the highlights, and hopefully, if you haven't heard any of this news yet, you'll hear the news now, and if you have heard this news, well, maybe me throwing my hat in the ring about some of these things will allow you to, I don't know, understand stuff a little better, maybe make you think about an opposing viewpoint, what have you. I'm never ever here just to be like, you know, a hate-click YouTuber. That's just not my bag. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing, etc. All those things will really help me out, trying to get to 10k subs by the end of the year. And without further ado, yes, I'm going to immediately talk about the number one thing that has people up in a tizzy, for a good reason. So, whoo boy. A way to make the third append skill even more useless for most characters. The 4th and 5th append skill has been added, and yes, needs NP8 is now trending on JP Twitter. So yes, if you want to max a servant's append skills now, you need Noble Phantasm level 8, Bond 15 to get enough coins to do that. Had a lot of people commenting in the chat of my Discord. Some people in particular, and you'll know who you are when I mention you, being like, hey, I was super excited that I got an extra Nero. I was willing to, you know, burn this copy, not have to worry about it, burn those coins for Grail casting, and now I feel like a fool now that 2 more append skill levels have been added. So I feel your pain. I really do. And it would be different if these append skills were just whatever, but both of them are pretty good, the 5th one in particular. The 4th append skill increases a servant's overall critical attack damage, great on some of these crit servants, but the most important one is skill loading at the very end. From Atlas Academy, and that's where I'm going to get all of this data from, this reduces an active skill cooldown by 1 turn 1 to 3 times after its usage. So 1 reduction at 1 to 5, 2 reductions at 6 to 9, 3 reductions at level 10. Each active skill can only trigger this append skill's effect once. So this is absurd. No, there is no servant coin rework. There is no cost reduction. You've basically been told by Lasagna to just roll more copies of all of these characters to get this stuff. No sort of refund, nothing. So this is going to be a big whale thing. This is something we end up on NA. I think we're a little more feel-good about this than some people on JP, since we, you know, have clairvoyance. We know now to save our servant coins for this future update. That skill in particular is crazy. I've heard people already talking about how it further breaks Arcoade. There's a lot of servants that are going to be really, really happy to get this buff. But I've seen people in JP, you know, whales already happy. They have a bunch of coins saved. People who can't afford the whale, very, very upset at this new feature being added specifically for whales. I kind of feel mixed about it, really, in all honesty, because the append skills system was never not for whales. It was always one of those things where, you know, they really want to incentivize people to roll as many copies of a 5-star servant they super like to try to completely maximize that possible append. Where this ends up being good is people whose favorite character is a 4-star or even especially a 3-star or lower. Because your 3-star or lower, well, you're now going to have the ability to get these crazy appends, get these crazy boosts. Might be time to really look into investing into some of your 3 stars and below if you have Clairvoyance EX on NA. So overall, I guess my feelings on it are I'm not a huge fan because it's clearly made for whales, but I'm not surprised because the system in and of itself was already kind of made for whales anyways. Now, one thing I am happier to see is the pity system improvements. So now, pity system, even though it's still an astronomical 330 rolls, it is not limited to one single time per pickup. So you can end up pitying and pitying and pitying into the same servant every 330 rolls. Will not carry over other pickup summons, but you'll have the opportunity to keep trying to get that character if you're willing to spend that astronomical amount of Saint Quartz on them. I still kind of wish this was like a 50-50 situation with a fewer number of rolls. I feel like that would be really the best option, but then again, that is not something that super duper caters to the concept of whaling. So again, another thing where it ends up being marginally better. I'm not surprised that it is such a marginal change in comparison to some other things we've seen. One thing I'm incredibly pleased with are returning command codes to the DaVinci shop. We've needed so many of these command codes to get a rerun, and they're here, they're back. I'm excited to be able to get these in the future and throw them on some of my characters. We've got the Siegfried command code returning for even more dragon slaying. Wedge of the Heavens is back. We've got an opportunity to get another copy of the Santa Rider command code that grants 4 critical stars. Lots of really good options here. I wanted to see a rerun of these codes for a very long time, so I'm happy that we now have a permanent option to get some additional copies of these. And they're 300 mana prisms a piece for the rare runs, 2 rare prisms for the SRs, and 5 rare prisms for the SSRs. So still quite an amount of rare prisms, something that ends up necessitating quite a bit of re-rolling. But considering the R options have things like Immature Illusionary Command Seal, and of course Iskandar's Crest for Buster Crit memes, I think that's fine. I'll accept the 300 mana prisms for those. Those are some great reruns that have been included in this.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
There's another minor important thing that came out in passing that I also think is deserving of mention. Command spells now recharge at a faster rate. Rather than just getting 1 emblem of your command spell brought back every single day, you get all 3. This might seem a little bit minute, but for, players who might not necessarily have the best setup, sort of an incentive to maybe try to get new players or returning players to come back for the game, I think this is an overall just better quality of life feature. If you're unable to beat something today, use your command spells. If you're unable to beat the next thing, try again tomorrow. It's going to incentivize people to try to clear things a little bit faster, having a requisite oh shit button they can rely on if things end up getting tough in story battles. So I think it's an overall good thing. Allow more people to experience the game. And finally, let's talk about the 9th anniversary servant, Space Ereshkigal. Now, I've seen reactions going all over the place about this character, but I gotta say, overall, I'm a fan. I really am. The Beast class is a little weird for her. I imagine they'll explain that a little bit in the story, but what I especially like from her is her special mechanic where her bond with her master ends up affecting the amount of damage she deals. One part of that is tied directly into Ereshkigal's actual bond gauge, so the more you use her, the more she will get those bonuses. This also ends up making her completely, well, mostly, not as good as a friend summon servant because, well, her affection is always going to be 0 no matter what if you select her as a supporter, because it's not your Ereshkigal, it is somebody else's Ereshkigal, and she is bonded with her master. I'm always a huge fan whenever Fate Grand Order tries to do things that, implement some sort of new mechanic, some sort of different way to play the game, some sort of expansion on mechanics, even if it ends up being a miss with some characters, i.e. Constantine. I know Constantine was a huge miss with the way his kit was implemented. I really do like to see them take these chances and just try to do something different within the scope of the system they have. So seeing Space Ereshkigal launch in a limited class with a very interesting mechanic tied to her, something that's different from anything we've ever seen before, I've got to say I'm a huge fan for that. I think I'll end up rolling for her. She seems like she'll be fairly worth it. I mean, this puts her up against Seal, of course, and I'm sure some Ereshkigal fans are kicking themselves for rolling for Seal specifically firsthand, but what can you do? This is just a thing that happens in this game sometimes. Anyways, that's all I got for you, gang. I just wanted to go over some of those important things that were announced with the 9th anniversary. A lot of crazy new mechanics, a lot of shakeups, both good and bad. So if you could go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Let me know if you think there's anything that worth mentioning that I might have missed. Let me know your feelings on things like the extra pen skills, like Space Ereshkigal. Any of that stuff would be really great to hear. Great to hear, the community's input on this. I've been hearing a lot of stuff in my Discord server already. People have been bouncing back and forth, comparing, FGO to different games, talking about maybe they could pull this thing, maybe they could pull this thing, talking about how the new servants compare to the older servants, what have you. Healthy discussion is always good when it comes to any sort of game, and as long as we're all, respectful and, we're just trying to look at things critically, there is absolute merit to discussing any and all games. So have at it. Have at it. Talk about this thing you enjoy. Things you like, things you hate. It's all fine. Go for it. Anyways, this is Kawaii50, hoping you have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next one.